thank you very much for taking time out of your schedules yet again, because I'll tell you, as much as I love you guys, and I'd rather be somewhere else right now. Okay, my beloved Bearcats are having their homecoming game against Louisville right now, and I'm missing the game to be here. Anybody got a score for me? 21-7 Bearcats? 21-7 Bearcats, all right. You know, but I take time out of my schedule as well because this is important. I have 3 kids today, and you know, I've got a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old, and I think you guys all know that by now. And for me, it is important that I take time out of my schedule to ensure that they have the same opportunities in their future that I do. I don't want to be here. I didn't pick this fight. The fight picked me, but I'll tell you, back in February, I crossed that line and I had to go do something. I couldn't be silent anymore. And I am proud to stand with all of you and send a message that Mr. Steve Driehaus should be... Sorry about that, guys. Mr. Steve Driehaus should be listening to us and not to her. Because Steve Driehaus really was actually somewhat fiscally conservative when he was in the Ohio State House. He ran as a fiscal conservative, and all I can tell you is that when he went to Washington, D.C., something must happen when you cross inside that beltway, because Steve Driehaus is not the man now that he was back then. In fact, you may call him a liar for saying that he was a fiscal conservative and then coming in and voting for the stimulus bill and voting for cap and trade. You know, and so we sat down with him, and he's made a few promises to us on this health care bill. All right? He said, number one, okay, I will not vote for a bill, okay, that will add anything to the deficit. I will not vote for anything that is not deficit neutral. He said, I will not vote for a bill that impacts small businesses negatively. And he said, I will not vote for a bill that contains any public funding for abortion. All right, well, you know what? We are here to hold his feet to the fire, okay, and say that based on that, we expect a no vote. But he won't tell us his true feelings on this. He says he's still up in the air because there's 5 different versions of the bill. And I'll tell you, that's by design. Okay, so like they did with the stimulus bill, rushing it through, ramming it through Congress so we didn't have time to react. The same thing they did to pass cap and trade, where they had a 300-page amendment in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. in the morning. Okay? You know, they added this together, and they had a 1,500-page bill that they didn't even know what the final version of that bill looked like, and they passed it anyway. They passed it in spite of our objections, and you know what? Steve Driehaus told me that whole time that I'm undecided. Okay, and then he voted for it anyway. All right, I don't care how good that bill was. What was the emergency that you couldn't give the American people 7 days to look at that bill? You know, I'm not the first one to say that. Back during the campaign, a certain president by the name of Barack Obama said that, and I'll give him credit because I think that was a damn good idea. We should have time to look at the bills. We should have time to analyze them. We should have time to make our opinion known, and we should have time to make our voice heard. You know, but instead they attack us for being Americans and exercising our First Amendment rights to go out and say what we think. Okay, they attack Fox News. You may have heard about this. The Obama administration's going after Fox News, right? Okay, you know why? Okay, it's because the New York Times and the Washington Post, okay, actually admitted that, you know, maybe we should be paying more attention to Fox News and talk radio because they keep scooping us on stuff. You know, that little scandal that mainstream media wasn't so interested in reporting on, where you had a couple conservative journalists go into Acorn offices dressed as a prostitute, okay, go in and ask for money, and they're getting advice and assistance. Okay, and the rest of the media didn't think that was newsworthy. Come on now. Anybody in here listen to Glenn Beck? He's the one among those breaking the story. Okay? Van Jones would still be in the Obama administration if it wasn't for Glenn Beck bringing it to the light of day. Okay, these are stories that should matter to Americans. These are stories that the mainstream media should cover, and yet they're not. Okay, what about, I forget the guy's name. I think it's Kevin Jennings. Okay? Yeah, I can't even say out here what organization he's a member of. Okay, but he's yet another admitted socialist. And then there's the White House communications director who said that her two favorite philosophers were Mother Teresa and Mao, Chairman Mao. Okay, this is our administration, and I'll tell you, that's not the American I know. Okay, the America I know believes in freedom. Okay, little things like this matter. We have been dealing with little infringements on our liberty for years and years. And I'll give you an example. My youngest son is 5 years old, and he goes to an all-day Montessori kindergarten and daycare. All right, and I got in trouble, all right, for sending certain things in his lunch. All right, you see, there's these Department of Agriculture regulations about what constitutes a good school lunch. All right, so you have to have at least one serving of fruit or vegetables. You have to have one serving of dairy. You have to have one serving of meat and one serving of bread. If you don't have that, it's not a complete lunch. And if they're not taking care of that, they can lose some of their accreditations. All right, well, one day I got in trouble, and my son was prevented from eating part of his lunch, okay, because I thought that sugar-free chocolate pudding was a dairy item. Okay, so you have the government telling them you're going to lose your accreditation if I can't give the right food for my son. Okay, that is government stepping into my family. All right, and I'll tell you, I got news for him. You know what? It's my life. Okay, and so because we stood by and let that things go, now we have big things on the table. Healthcare. All right, this is a big deal. This is 1/6 of our economy.